Hello everyone, welcome to my homeowner subscribers and also first-time home buyers. This video is also especially for you. We're going to talk about all of the home preventative maintenance tips and tasks that you need to perform throughout the year to make sure that you don't have any ongoing issues and to prevent, there's safety issues here and also maintenance issues to save yourself some money and additional trouble as a homeowner. So, owning a home is not an easy thing. It's different than renting. When you're renting, you're going to see the list that I'm going to go through right now. I've got 50. I just chose 50 maintenance tips that you need to follow, and there's likely going to be at least 50 more that I'm not covering. But you'll notice as a renter, you're really not doing any of these things. But as a homeowner, these are all on you. So there's so many here, like I said, 50 that I'm going to have to read from my sheet. Just follow along, and I'm also going to break these out into chapters in the video, so that way you can zero in on any area that you prefer. So the first thing is absolutely need to check your smoke detectors. Hit the button on them and test them, once every month or two, and then change the batteries out at least once per year. Even if you don't think they need to be changed, just change out your batteries. Now the next grouping here that I'm going to talk about is your HVAC systems. So you have to change your filters at least 2 times per year. That's coming through your return vent. I would say I kind of like to do it right as we're entering winter and right as we're exiting winter, exiting the spring, getting into the summer. So for example, October 31st and then maybe May 1st, that kind of a thing, where you're catching it at those two times, especially when you have forced hot air heat. If you have forced hot air, that seems to trap a lot of lint and debris in the filters. Vacuum your heat registers once per year. You get buildup in those grooves in the slots of your registers, and it prevents airflow. So it would be a good idea to take your vacuum with the brush attachment and just go around the house and vacuum them up. Your air conditioning condenser outside, what happens is that you get dirt and debris in those little fins, and what you want to do is gently, on a fine spray those about twice during the summer to remove some of that debris, because it's going to make it more efficient and help it cool better. So that's what I would do, is recommend that, not on a heavy force spray, because you don't want to damage those fins. Vacuum the leaves out from the inside of the condenser. If you look down over the fan and look down inside, you might see there's a lot of debris and leaves down at the bottom. You'll want to, at least once per year, unscrew the top. There's usually like a grate on the top. You can unscrew them and put your shop vac down in there and vacuum all that up. And cover that condenser in the winter if you can. That'll help preserve the life of it. You want to test your air conditioning and your heat before you need air conditioning and heat, because if it doesn't work, then you're going to be backed up with repair calls with your HVAC guy. It might be too busy to come out. You don't want to wait until it's too late to where you really need it. So I would like to test the AC in April, make sure it's working properly, and then you can test your heat the end of September or early October to make sure it's working properly. Therefore, if you find that, my God, it's not working, you can get your guy in there and not be desperate, because you're not in dire need of either heat or AC during those months. So now we're going to move on to electrical. You need to check each outlet to make sure they're wired properly. And I've had a video before where I talked about one of these. You just plug it in and it's going to tell you whether it's wired properly or not, and you can hit this button and check to make sure that your GFCI outlets are working properly too. And if it's not wired properly, you're going to want to make the adjustment. Maybe you've got your neutral and your power wire, your white and your black crossed, or maybe it's not grounded. So you want to check into this and take care of that using one of these. All right. Another good thing to do is label all of your switches and outlets, so that way you know which breaker is controlling it. It's good to do that up front, and you can leave, if you have a little pouch inside of your breaker panel door, You can leave papers like this where you can mark out, draw a diagram of all of your rooms, and where the outlets are, you mark the breaker number so you know which one is which. Or you could take the covers off of your outlets and switches, and on the back side take a marker and put which breaker number controls it. And then also make sure that your circuits are not overloaded. A lot of people plug in too many devices into a circuit, outlet circuit, space heaters in the winter, hair dryers are going, and if you start to overload it, you're gonna have issues. You could have a fire. You melt your wire nuts or even your receptacles if you're drawing too much power, and if your breaker is not tripping properly, then you're gonna have a problem with that. Make sure you're not overloading your breakers. So count the watts that are on each circuit. Now let's move on to plumbing. Make sure you check all of your drains for clogs. And one of the things you can do is just run water through all of your sinks and all of your showers, fill it up, and then see how quickly it drains. If it's draining slowly, then you've got debris in there and you need to check it and clean it out. And I think you should check and clean out your P-traps about twice per year. So that's the little elbows underneath your sinks. Open them up, and then with a bucket or a dishpan underneath, dump it out. And any kind of nasty debris in there, it's gunk. My daughter would call it skunky gunky. She used to say that about things that smelled badly when she was really little. So you want to get rid of that nonsense and that gunk, because it starts to build up and close your drain opening, and then also hair builds up in there and causing a problem with the flow. Inspect your tubs and showers for, you want to check for the grout and the caulk to make sure you're not losing any caulk or grout, and then if so, you need to re-grout and caulk. I would say check that periodically. I mean, you're in the bathroom all the time, so always just keep your eyes open for that. And if you see a problem, you need to get onto it, because if water gets getting behind there, then you're going to have other problems and other water damage inside the back of your walls. Flush your hot water heater once per year, because you don't want to have deposits, especially if you have well water or if you have city water where there's a lot of minerals. You're going to basically cook the water inside the water heater, and then those molecules and those deposits separate and they lay on the bottom. And I had a story where my first house, the house was I guess built in the 50s or the early 60s, and the original water heater was in there, and it needed to get eventually it just needed to get changed. It wasn't working properly, and I found out why. We took the thing out into the driveway, and it was really heavy. It was barely even, we couldn't even drain the water out of there, because the sediment was this thick from all of those deposits, which meant the flame underneath had to cook the deposits before it was even warming the water. So because the water heater was never flushed. So it's really important to flush your water heater. Do that at least once per year. Clean your garbage disposal if you have one. There's methods to do that. Plenty of YouTube videos out there. I'm seeing a lot of people talking about putting ice in there, letting you crush the ice with the blades of the disposal. Put a heavy solution of baking soda in there, and flush hot water after it's had a chance to sit. Vacuum bathroom exhaust fans every 3 months. You'll be surprised at how much dust gets stuck in the grate of your exhaust fan cover, and that restricts the flow and therefore does not suck the moisture out of your bathroom well enough, which means you've got moisture on the walls. So when you're vacuuming the bedroom or the hallway that's near your bathrooms, just take a look up there, put the little brush on there, and just 1 second, just reach up and vacuum it out. Locate and test the main water shutoff and make sure everyone in the house knows where it is. This is in case of an emergency. This is if you might know where the shutoff is, but maybe everyone else that lives in your house doesn't. You're not home, a pipe breaks and water's shooting out everywhere, and they're running around in circles and not knowing what to do. Someone needs to have the knowledge and the understanding as to where the shutoff is so they can immediately run over to that shutoff, cut it, shut it off, and then stop the leakage from happening in the house. And if you've got underground sprinklers, you need to blow out the sprinkler lines before winter. When you're done watering your lawn, it doesn't have to be right before winter, but as soon as you're done using them, just blow them out, and that'll prevent any damage to the lines, any freezing, it's a real pain to dig them up. I've done it. So if you've got a septic system, you want to inspect it at least twice per year and pump it out at least once per year, depending on your usage. You also need to be careful of what you are putting down the drains. You don't want to flush things that are not biodegradable, and you definitely don't want to be allowing oils to go down your sink, from your cooking. The oils get out there and eventually go into your leach field, and the oils create a barrier so that way the water cannot leach down into the ground, and then your septic system is going to fail. And again, the oils are a major contributor to that. So you want to, if you've got oils, put them in the garbage can, put them in your garbage bag, put them on paper towels in a paper cup, and put them in your garbage. Do not flush that down the sink in your kitchen. And also, you want to be careful just not to run the water too much. You don't want to overload your septic system with too much liquid at one time. So if you're not using the water, just don't let it run constantly. Now let's talk about appliances. So I'm gonna say the dryer vent is part of your dryer, which is an appliance. You need to clean that out 2 times per year. It's a major spot where fires can happen. So you want to disconnect it from your dryer, inspect inside, and if you have a short run, you might be able to look in there, and if you see any debris, you can reach in with your hand or put a shop vac in there and vacuum it out. Remove lint from your dryer screen at least once per week, or if you're doing a lot of loads of laundry, just inspect it multiple times per week. I know some people that just every time they put clothing in the dryer, they pull up the screen and they scoop out whatever lint happened to be in there. That's a good practice if you can remember to do that. Clean your stovetop and your oven routinely. That'll just preserve the life expectancy of your stove. Check your dishwasher for leaks. You might not even realize it's leaking under there, but maybe you can pop off in the bottom panel and get on the floor with a flashlight and just make sure after you use it that you don't see any water under there. And if you do, you're going to have to pull it out and then make sure you secure the waistline or the supply. Run a cycle of on your dishwasher using some Tang. I know that some people already know this, but your dishwasher can get discolored and dirty inside, and apparently, and we've done this at our house, if you put some Tang in your where the soap goes and just run it without any dishes in there, run it through a cycle, it really, for whatever reason, that stuff cleans out the dishwasher. I can't imagine what it's doing inside of you when you're drinking it, but it cleans out your dishwasher. And also remember to pull out your refrigerator at least once or twice per year and vacuum out behind it. And I don't mean on the floor, I mean where you can see underneath, you can see the fan in there and the compressor. When that gets loaded with dust and lint and hair, it makes it more difficult for the refrigerator and the compressor to run. It puts it's taxing on it, and then it could fail a lot sooner than it should. Now we're going to move on to the basement. So you need to check your entire basement for leaks. If you have a sump pump, you need to make sure you check the sump pump occasionally, even when it's not wet down there. Just lift up the float, make sure it's running. And if you don't have one, I recommend installing a battery backup. It's, oftentimes when your sump pump is running, it's when you get a lot of rain, which means there's a storm. And if we have a heavy storm that knocks the power lines down and the sump pump can't work, then the water's coming in, because you typically have water when power lines are taken down. So you want that sump pump to work. Having a battery backup is critical. I would recommend installing one. If you need a new sump pump anyway, You can buy one that comes with a battery backup. I have a video about that in my playlist that shows you how to install one with a battery backup. Actually had to use it recently where we lost power. Same thing, it had been raining and the backup kicked in. Thank God for that. And also seal all penetrations to prevent rodents from entering. You may have areas where maybe pipes are going out, you have a crawl space, maybe it's an older home and it wasn't built that tightly, and you need to go inspect everything and fill all the gaps and cracks so that way you don't have any either rodents or bugs coming in. Now we're going to move on to the garage. So your garage, you need to check the springs every few months, let's say every 3 months. And what you want to do is look for, I'm standing here in the garage now as I'm looking up, and I've got a few of these garage spring videos too. You want to see where a section of it is now separating more than the others. That means it's starting to fail. And when that spring fails, if you don't have a safety wire running through the center of it, the thing can shoot across the garage and actually go through a wall. So you want to check the springs to make sure they're working properly. And then you also want to lube the springs and the tracks with garage door lube to make sure that it, and also the wheels on it to make sure that it is all running smoothly. Okay. Now let's move on to the attic. You need to inspect the attic for rodents, okay? Because a lot of people have crazy gaps in between the outside and inside their attic, and not just rodents. I've heard of raccoons getting in there, which means you need to seal all that up. You do not want birds, rodents, bats, raccoons, squirrels, anything to be able to get in. The only gaps you should have are little gaps where you may have a vent that's allowing airflow to cool your attic. That's about it. Check for roof leaks from underneath. You might not notice anything from the top, but you need to check for roof leaks from underside. You can see a discoloration in your sheathing up there, or you might even actually see where you see drips or see where it's coming down. You can also check and replace any insulation where it's needed. If you see gaps in your insulation where it's not fully covering the floor below or the ceiling below, then you want to add the insulation. Also look for heavily discolored insulation, because that means that air is making its way through. You've got an air penetration, and that insulation is acting like a filter if it's turning black or a dark color. Okay, so now we're going to move to the outdoors. You need to winterize your hose bibs once the temps get down to around 40 degrees, or once you know you're done using the hose for the season, just winterize it. And that means that not only are you shutting off the water to the valve and then opening it to make sure it drains out, but then you're gonna also take your hoses, disconnect the hoses, and lift them up all the way down the length of it, so that way the water's draining out, and tightly wind them up and put them in your shed or your garage. Don't leave them outside during the winter, because that's also going to reduce the life of your hoses. You want to rake or blow the leaves after fall away from your house. Well, you want to get it off your lawn, because if it sits on your lawn, it'll mat down your lawn. But you definitely want to get that rotting debris away from the foundation of your house, because that's going to foster an environment where termites will potentially arrive and get into your home. Remove all wood that's within 20 feet of your house. Again, for the same reason. Wet, rotting wood attracts termites, and then the next thing you'll know, they can kind of head on over to your house, which is not too far away, and sometimes right next to where this wood is, and now they're feasting on your home. And direct water from all downspouts away from your home. Again, the moisture is something that termites like, but also that moisture is going to get into your basement, which is going to cause other problems. So you want to make sure you take the time to direct your downspouts far away from the house, and then also grade your property away from your house. You don't want to have a situation where the ground near your home is slightly pitching towards the house, where you got puddles in there. And one thing you can do is during a heavy rain, just put on a raincoat and an umbrella and go outside and walk around your property and see if you have any puddling happening. And if you do, you need to make note of it and then go back out when the rain stops and fill it in to make sure everything is pitching the other way. So you want to seal gaps and cracks around all of your doors and windows. check the weather stripping, make sure everything is as it should be, and make any replacements or changes to the weather stripping if needed. And if you see any gaps and cracks, use caulk or whatever it is you need to do to make sure it's all sealed. Inspect your roof at least 2 times a year for shingle damage and nail pops. You might not notice the shingle damage or nail pops until you get up on the roof. If it's a difficult roof to get up on, very steep and dangerous, then use binoculars and check it that way. You also want to check out the flashing that you might have if you have peaks and valleys and you've got flashing around your chimney. And also you want to check the grout in the bricks around your chimney, because if you don't keep on top of that and your chimney starts to fall apart, again, it becomes an expensive thing to fix. But if you could stay on top of it and make any slight modifications or repairs as you're noticing it happen, then your chimney and your roof will last a lot longer. You want to clean your gutters, your downspouts, your gutters along the roof every 2 weeks in the fall if you've got trees around you, because it just, the leaves are going to fall that quickly. Every 2 weeks, clean out your gutters during the fall, and then every, say, 3 months after that, when you have no leaves falling anymore, about every 3 months after that, check your downspouts and your gutters. Now, your lawnmower. In the winter, you should start your lawnmower at least every month to make sure that it starts. If you have a battery, like a tractor with a battery, not just a pull start, maybe you put a little battery tender on it. You could also drain the fuel during the winter so you don't have to start it. Or if you want to leave the fuel in there, you can put some stable or some other additive to make sure that the fuel is still good in the spring when you go to start the mower to mow for the first time. You don't have a problem at that point. So that's why you want to kind of stay on top of it and check into it periodically during the winter and maybe start it. You'll want to change your oil and your filter in your lawnmower at least once per year. You choose when, but you should do it at least once per year. Also, sharpen your lawnmower blades at least once or twice per year. Sharpening your lawnmower blades helps the health of your lawn. And that's it. So that's what I came up with it's a long list. Like I said, about 50 items on that list. And I'm sure there are more. If you thought of any others just that I didn't pick up on my first video on this topic, then just please leave it down in the comments below to share for everyone. And that would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions on any of these things or want me to make a video on any of these, I absolutely will. I may have already on some of them. I know I have. So I appreciate you watching. And if you're a first-time home buyer, congratulations on your new home. I have plenty more home buyer repair videos that I'm sure you'll find interesting. I appreciate everyone. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you, please hit the like button, and we will see you next time.